So this is an instructional video. It is meant to be attached to a previous video that I made. My name is David Lee. On the day of 8 March, my team and I successfully sent a humanitarian convoy into the nation of Ukraine. They made it there safely and back to the nation of Romania. This video, it will just give details of how I accomplished this, in hopes that it will be informative for others. We were able to accomplish this without paying any bribes or without having any special connections. And other organizations can as well. Details of what I say might be inaccurate. It is information that I believe to be accurate to the best of my understanding. My goal is to just share my own experience in hopes that others can quickly get humanitarian aid to the Ukrainians. I'm sacrificing maybe technicalities for the sake of speed. But I will present to you the file and paperwork that we prepared, and it was successful, at least in the Suret border, which again is situated between the major city of Suceava, Romania, and Chernivtsi, Ukraine. Further, I recommend that if you pursue this and send a vehicle or a whole convoy of vehicles, and the process is basically the same legal process, take a printer with you that has copy abilities and a laptop. If there's any details that I missed in this video, or any details that you miss in your execution, or if there are procedural differences at the border crossing that you pass through, or as with time goes by, day to day, authorities are overwhelmed and they're adding procedures. So if you have a printer with you that has copying capabilities, if you roughly take these steps, I believe that if you are resourceful, you will be able to find a place to plug in that printer and fulfill whatever obligations the border guards place on you. If you want to pursue taking a humanitarian convoy into the country, you must keep in mind that you need to be very flexible and able to overcome unexpected situations. Again, Ukraine is a war zone, the whole country, and entering any part of it, no matter how far to the west, is a risk of your life. Drones or airplanes may perceive your presence as a military presence, especially if you're driving in a convoy, or especially if you send a large semi-truck. So here's the paperwork, roughly, that we prepared. Actually, I wanted to start with a different one. The most important thing in this whole process is that you clearly mark that this is humanitarian assistance. This is Ukrainian for humanitarian assistance. This can be accomplished by using Google Translate and then copying and pasting onto a document to be printed out. Google Translate is not perfect, but it's good enough for the purposes of preparing your paperwork. You do not need necessarily a native Ukrainian or Russian speaker. It's vital to display this on each wall of the vehicle, on each outside wall of the vehicle. You need to place this in the windshield, Parbrizul. I'm also going to say some Romanian words because my primary audience is Romanian. And on the sides and on the back. On the back, it's going to get dirty right away. You're not going to be able to see it, but display it. So to accomplish this goal, it's very simple. It's just a printed out piece of paper, put in any Eastern European office supply store. You can acquire these. Place it in the plastic. Make sure that this area is taped really good. And then we just duct taped them. The gray silver duct tape. that can be acquired at any hardware store here. It's important to display in the languages of all combatants involved in a conflict. This is in the Russian language. Then here I have it in English. Or if you're crossing near the border, our convoy, it only had it in the Romanian language. So we displayed it very largely in the Ukrainian language, and then smaller in the Romanian and Russian language. Again, this is the legal situation to the best of my understanding of how the Red Cross and how humanitarian assistance works in a time of war. To the best of my understanding, having a Red Cross on your vehicle is a legal declaration that you are a non-combatant. To my understanding, it was started in the Crimean War as a symbol for combatants to evacuate their wounded and dead. It is prohibited to transport arms of any type while you are displaying the Red Cross, whether on your person or on your vehicle. The consequence for being captured by the enemy and being found bearing the Red Cross and bearing arms is death on the spot. You are prohibited from carrying any explosives, any ammunition, any rifles, not even a personal sidearm for your own personal protection. Connected with that, there's a story from the Battle of the Bulge when a German ambulance was carrying out German wounded. American GIs stopped them. American soldiers stopped the Germans, and the driver had a sidearm. He had a pistol on him. The Americans removed him from the car and executed him from the spot, and it had to be driven by the passenger, his co-pilot. So this is a very serious thing. If you display this, you must not also carry any arms of any type. You are declaring yourself as a non-combatant, entering a war zone with the intention of only helping wounded people, wounded soldiers that are no longer included and involved in the conflict, or to help civilians. The next, so displaying the signs is the first thing that you need to have. The second thing that you need to have is a letter of intention. And I'll post a template of this on the site. Here's my redacted version. So I have this in the Romanian language because we passed through a border that was staffed by Romanians, being Romania, along with Ukrainian, and along with also the language of Russian. We did not anticipate meeting with Russian authorities, but I had it there because it's the right thing to do. So basically this, the translation of this, and I'll include it on the thing, it just says a letter to authorities, Romanian, and then here, a letter to authorities, Ukrainian, a letter to authorities, Russian, humanitarian convoy, sent by, and then the name of my organization with the address of the organization, through the representative, and then my personal name and identifying numbers from my Romanian residency. And then to, or so sent by, sent to, and then the entity, the legal entity that is receiving your goods. And to my understanding, you're able to do this as a private person or as a nonprofit organization. I don't think that it matters, from my understanding. So here it went to the Baptist Church X at the address of X in the city of X, through the representative of Mr. X in the position of pastor. And then I just wrote here on the document details about the vehicles, persons, and articles for humanitarian aid contained in this convoy, in this humanitarian convoy are annexed in this document. So this was the letter, and then the rest of it there is annexes. So all of this you want to have in two examples, two printed out examples. You want to have one with each vehicle. So each vehicle has the documentation for their own vehicle. But then I also recommend that at the front of the line, your first vehicle in the convoy, and that really needs to be the leader. So you need to choose a leader, and he or she needs to have the documents of all of the convoy. Also connected with this, the recommendations that I received is to Ukrainian vehicles are okay in a humanitarian convoy. Ukrainian nationals complicate things. So if you want to get in and out, it's best to have, to my understanding, what I was told, it's best to have only non-Ukrainian nationals. Or if they're a Ukrainian national with dual citizenship, have them present only their citizenship of another country. So each vehicle, basically you need to have pictures and photocopies of all of the vehicle information and all of the persons in the vehicle. And basically what that's doing is that's doing a lot of the customs officials' work for them. So that they don't have to sit there and process everybody. You're already handing them a lot of the work process so that they can then just transfer it to their files. So here are those files that they're designed to receive from you. A picture of the front and of the side of the vehicle. Included in this are written out the plate number and the persons in the vehicle. And we identified also the driver. Then followed by that, and we always started with the drivers being the next piece of paper, the driver's passport, driver's license, and vehicle registration. In Romanian, what is known as the talon, talonul mașinii. Following the driver, we included the passports of passengers. If it's possible that a passenger is going to take over and drive, I recommend that you also Xerox copy their driver's license on the same sheet of paper as their passport. Next, you have to have an inventory of the contents of the vehicle. The authorities are more interested in what is on the vehicle, not necessarily the quantities. So again, humanitarian aid is supposed to be non-combatant. And that's the biggest thing that they're looking for. They just want to make sure that you're not transporting weapons under the flag of the Red Cross. If you have your inventory in a spreadsheet, it could be easy, if you're capable of doing it, to set it so that it will automatically, through Google Translate the inventory into several languages, whatever language is necessary. For instance, in our transport, we sent medical supplies to a hospital, and right now, after the fact, our inventory list was only in the Romanian language, and so now we're working to transfer the spreadsheet also into the Ukrainian language so it will be easier for them to process the donations that we sent. It was a truck and a trailer full of medical equipment. Okay, so that's for each vehicle. So each vehicle inside should have, the way that we did it, each vehicle got a folder in which each vehicle would have an original copy of the letter. Oh, and the letter is also signed and stamped. So they had that in the folder. Then they also had those copies in the folder, and then also their passports just put right here. Then that way when they got to the authorities, they just handed it all over. That made things a lot easier and faster. And again, I got my guys through, it was 20 minutes for them to get in to Ukraine, and it was 45 minutes when they were getting out through customs. Okay, then for your second vehicle, same thing. Okay, picture picture of the front of the vehicle and the side. And then if they have a trailer, you also have to include a picture of the trailer, including the license plate. There's the front of the vehicle. And then the vehicle's registration and also the trailer's registration. That needs to be copied on there as well. And again, passport of the driver and his driver's license, and an inventory. My recommendation is that each vehicle have their own on them, have their own folder with their own vehicle's information, but then at the front of the line, that those folks have everybody's stuff. So that the authorities can, they can just hand everything all at once for your whole convoy from the head of the line, but then each vehicle needs to have everything on them. Okay. I believe that that's all the information I was going to have. This video is very long already. I'm sure that you're watching it probably at 2 times speed. And Godspeed.